I had the privilege of interviewing Stephanie Hunziker today on the show, and I can't wait for you to listen to this show because this is her first podcast, and you'll never know that by listening to her. She rocked at this, knocked it out of the park. Speaking of authenticity, speaking about doing things that bring you joy, talking about being involved in her community and giving back, talking about the journey as part of the process, not going after being some 100 house a year agent, but instead really, really serving her clients, staying invested in their lives, and that has brought her joy, which inevitably has people following her, not only online, but giving her a good business. So I can't wait for you to hear from Stephanie. Here we go. I am sitting across from Stephanie Hunziker.
Hello there.
Hey, so glad you're here.
I'm so happy to be here. My first ever podcast. So
Yay!
this is great.
Right on, right on. We're happy to have you. And I just can't wait to get to know you more and have our listeners hear about what brought you to the business, all kinds of fun stuff. So let's dive right in. But my first question for you is, how long have you been doing real estate?
Almost 12 years. This January will be
Wow.
12 years.
Congrats.
Thank you. Blows my mind how quickly the time flies.
Yeah, definitely, right? We joke in our business that once you're through your first 24 months, you're basically a pro now because we learn so much by doing in this business. So you are definitely a pro. Good job.
Thank you.
And tell us a little bit pre-Stephanie. Stephanie, before real estate, was doing what?
I have never had a regular office 9 to 5 Monday through Friday job.
Congratulations, first of all. Well done.
So I was a professional poker dealer for 7 years
No way.
before real estate.
I knew I wanted you on this podcast.
Yes.
This is amazing.
Yes.
Okay, poker
So
dealer.
customer facing has always been my path. I met my husband at the Home Depot in Redmond.
Oh my
I
gosh.
started as a cashier. Then I became a returns cashier, which was a little bit harder.
Big time.
And then
yeah.
I wanted to learn electrical. So back then, Home Depot had actual contractors that were retired or people
Yeah.
that knew the trades.
Yeah.
So that was really exciting to me.
They all left and went to McClendon's now. That's where they work now.
Yeah. So my husband and I worked there. That's where we met. And then we went to WSU to finish up college together.
Okay.
And then I went for a broadcasting degree, but left with a poker degree.
Amazing.
Because I learned how to become a professional dealer as a player. I really loved playing poker.
Oh.
So then we moved back over this way. I grew up here, but the Snoqualmie Casino was where we worked. And then that kind of started the whole real estate process. We ended up having a lot of customers who were real estate agents because it was the downturn of the housing market. So that casino
yeah.
opened in 2008, in
Okay.
November 2008. So we got kind of acquainted with those folks. We ended up buying a house. And then my first experience of buying the house kind of reignited that interest and excitement. As with everyone watching HGTV and House Hunters and all that,
Right.
it was always fun. And I remember going to the Street of Dreams with my mom growing up when I was probably 12 over the few summers that they had it. And so that just kind of reignited it. And then I ended up starting working for somebody who was a customer at the casino. And I became an assistant, kind of trial by fire, just going in there, starting from scratch and working my way all the way up.
I can't even believe this is so fun. Okay, so I want to go back for just a second
Okay.
to poker dealer.
Yes.
Is there training for that for real? You said you sort of, was that a joke tongue in cheek about you got a degree in poker dealing, or was it?
Great question. I think there are some places that you could have gone to get certified, but I was a player at the casino in Pullman, Washington, so McCoog, WSU.
Nice.
And then they just did auditions and training. So I already had the basic knowledge because I was a player.
Okay.
So it was more easy for us to then transition
Sure.
that way. But I believe there were people that could actually take a course.
Amazing.
I never did it that way, but you had to audition. You had to know the rules. They didn't just hire anyone. You actually had to know what was going on.
Yeah.
And then when I went to the Snoqualmie Casino, same thing. You had an audition. They wanted to make sure everyone knew what was going on.
This is a funny question now because of what we're talking about, but I often ask the question, how did your time in your previous world contribute to what you're doing now? And I'm fascinated to hear how being a poker dealer has served you now in your real estate career.
So it goes back to the customer service. Again, never had a regular 9 to 5 office job type of thing. Always customer facing, taking care of folks, building rapport. And that's the big thing, is building rapport. So I would liken being a poker dealer to kind of maybe being a bartender, where you have your regulars, You know their life, you're talking with them and just getting to know them as people. So it really does translate quite well.
I bet. That's
Yeah.
so cool. There are a lot of real estate agents back in the restaurant industry and then transitioned. And it's sort of that front of house, same deal, right? Like we are interfacing with the public and we're learning how to ask good questions and read responses and hear the nuances of people, all that stuff without them saying it. So that's amazing. What a cool start. All right.
Thank
So
you.
12 years ago, you bought a house before that, but then you just jumped in. Did you jump in full time? Like, tell me about that first part of your real estate career.
Actually, yes and no. The person that I decided to work for, I had asked to take him to lunch probably more than a year prior to starting in real estate. And at that time, I was getting full benefits with my previous job, and it wasn't the right time. I wasn't ready. It was actually probably more like 2 years prior. And then I ended up staying home with my son for almost the first year of his life. And I started in real estate the week before he turned 1 year old. So it just was the timing, because real estate, you have to have that full confidence in yourself and you have to be really ready, in my opinion. I wasn't ready to make that jump at first, and then I was.
And we talk a lot about this for folks that are listening to this podcast that are considering this career and or at the beginning of this career themselves. When you talk about readiness, tell you a little bit more about what you mean. How did you know you were ready when you were ready, or not ready when you weren't ready?
Well, it kind of naturally happened where I stopped working at the casino toward the end of my pregnancy, so it was a natural cadence. But I knew going in that it would take 3 to 5 years to really build the business and the systems and just get your feet under you, and that was absolutely true. And I wasn't ready for that level of a commitment at the time. So I think it's knowing yourself, being honest with yourself if you're ready to make that change. And if you are not ready to put in the work for that long, then you're not going to give yourself a fair shake at real estate.
We talk a lot about having, 6 to 9 months of sort of reserves, I guess, in your bank account from things that you need to pay your bills with. And certainly if you're with a partner or someone else that's helping pay your bills, that eases that. But for those like me that came into this business and it's me sort of paying for me and my now kid, there's some pressure on that I think is good pressure, right? It's either sink or swim is the way that goes. So when you got in, how long was it before you felt like, oh, I could probably support myself on this?
It was a longer journey than most. So I started from scratch as an assistant. I got my license within the first 6 months. And then I was really feeling confident and started taking on bigger roles. And I have a different journey than most people. I was on 2 different teams before officially going out on my own. And it was a long time. It was actually nearly 7 years before I finally took the leap to truly be my own person. That being said, when I was on the teams, toward the end, I was full commission. It was as if I was on my own, but I was just under the umbrella of a team. I was paying my own splits and all of that. But it was not the normal journey. Some people just start from day one as their own. But for me, I wanted to build the confidence and I wanted to have real world training while having a little bit of a safety net. But also, you're right, with the partnership, my husband wasn't also ready for me to take that leap because we were both in careers that were compensation based versus guaranteed money. And that is a huge risk for both of us. So finally, I said, hey, I need to do this. I know I can do it. And he said, okay, absolutely. I believe in you.
Right on, right on.
Yeah.
We've talked at different times throughout this podcast over the years about teams and sort of the benefit to them and some of the costs to them. And I've had different people on the podcast that say, best decision I made, right, is to sort of get my feet wet and be under direction and all of that. And other people say I stayed too long. I knew I could do it sooner than I left and I, whatever. And then even another set of folks that would say, I wish I would have never joined a team. It cost me too much money to, I handed a lot of money away. Where on that continuum sort of would you place yourself?
I would say I could have gone out on my own a lot sooner, but I don't begrudge myself the journey. And I feel like sometimes people get too caught up in the mindset of, I wish I would have done X. I wish I hadn't done X. Why give that the energy?
True,
Just move forward and make the future the best that it can be. I don't have any regrets about how I did it. I know I could have done things differently and been successful and figured it out, but I don't need to live in the past.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Here we are. Okay, so take me back to that. It's 7 years in. You've gone through 2 teams and you're like, I'm doing this. I'm going to jump. And you jumped. How did that first year go?
It was actually pretty strong. I left in 2021, and so the market was still, I would say, fairly active. And then I had kind of a downturn after I had left and after that first year. But I almost feel like it was starting over and going back to that 3 to 5 years of giving yourself the time, because I was on those teams, and so I'm under the umbrella of those teams, and I wasn't able to market myself in the same respect. So it is a way of starting over. And I knew that when I left, I said there's no guarantees. And then I came back on the other side, and things, after the systems are reinstated and you're marketing yourself in different ways and just being out in the community, showing up differently, it all comes together.
I will just harken back just for 1 second, and that's, I'm going to risk being sort of anti-team here for a minute, but let me speak this first to say, I think that is one of the biggest costs to being on a team. I'm not against teams. I think they're great for people that would like to sort of ease into this industry. But I think the longevity of being on a team should be pretty short. And here's why. It's exactly what you just said. And that's to say, you are not building your brand, you're building the team's brand. And so when you end up going on your own, if that's your trajectory, you are starting over, just as you said, with sort of say, do people know me, and are they choosing me, or are they just choosing the team that I work for, right? So if you're on a team and listening to this or considering a team, I'd love to talk to you, first of all, but also that's just one of the costs, right? There are benefits too, but that's one of the costs. So, okay, you hit the ground, you're starting over again. When was that moment when you said, I'm going to be okay, I've got this, this is enough money for me to feel like this is full-time, my career now?
I would say from the get-go, I just knew that real estate is never linear. There's undulations of the market.
Totally true.
And when the interest rates spiked sharply in 2022, that is when things changed a bit. And you just have to know, if you want to be in real estate long-term, there's never a guarantee of what the market conditions will be. And you just have to make the best of what you're working with. And so it's just been a journey, and that's okay.
Still is, right?
Yeah. And so for me, my life is going to be at the forefront. It's not money. It is, am I having joy outside of work? Am I enjoying the folks that I'm working with? And I'm not trying to be a top producer selling 100 homes a year. That's not why I'm in this business. I'm here to impact people's lives. And even if it's a slower year, was it a good experience?
I think what you're explaining to the listeners is that the goal for your job is to help people and to do that the best you can.
Yes.
And then the money comes, the money follows that. Instead of, I have this huge financial goal, I'm going to make $500,000 and that's the goal. It's sort of flip-flop for you, which is awesome.
Right. It's the life balance. And when I was having the less productive years on paper, I would say 2023 was really, really hard for me. I was still doing all of the things, showing up for the community, still throwing the events, still acting as if it was a very productive year. And then the following year, it all starts to pay off. And so you just have to keep showing up.
Yeah, that's a quotable quote for this podcast. There it is. And that's to say, keep doing the work. So these fundamentals that we talk about, and I'm going to ask you a question about that now. If you could say just the 2 off the top of your head, you sort of mentioned a few, but if there's any others that were the most influential in you having consistent work. And I know you said, our business kind of ebbs and flows, but if you could say, I know I need to keep doing these things and I know they help me produce, what would those be?
It is, for me, authenticity online. I'm very big on social media, and also the community events and giving back. So I'm very big on, within the area that I live, I have a farm area and I throw community events. I was a sponsor of concerts in the park and all of the city events, and I really love that. And doing things that are authentic to me and giving back to the community, not just with the events, but charity, things like that, and bringing other people into that aspect. So those are the 2 really big things for me.
Awesome. And where do you live, Stephanie?
South King County. And I'm very big on privacy, so I usually don't advertise online specifically where I live, especially with my last name. It's really easy to figure that out.
Okay, gotcha. And you do community events, you talk about authenticity, and then you sort of help my segue even more right now by saying social media. So one of the reasons why I wanted you to come on the podcast today was that a couple brokers here at Scout talked about you and said she'd be great on this podcast. And I want to speak with you about how you have become a social media presence and someone that people in our office that are also pretty good at social media say, look at her, look what she's doing. So talk through that story.
I always make the joke that I've been chronically online since I was about 16. So the AOL dial-up chat rooms, and my parents were like, hey, no one can call us.
Pocket Hours is brought to you by Scout Real Estate. Hi, I'm Jennifer Nelson, owner at Scout Real Estate. I started this firm with the vision of doing things differently, with our focus on legendary service for our clients and creating a community of producing agents to spur each other to do higher quality work. If you are interested in learning more about how a small group of like-minded brokers have come together to have some fun while doing a lot of business, reach out to me, 206-227-7966, or email jennifer@scoutrealestate.com. I promise you this, fun is a high priority for me, but so is winning. So if you appreciate those two things, you might be interested in Scout. Looking forward to hearing from you.
So I've always enjoyed that aspect. And for me, it is just building community online. So I think there's a big thing about seeing people and acknowledging them and their life and their existence. And so it's about DMing someone if they put a story up and they're sharing their heart. And I also share my heart. So I am private, but I also share a lot. And so it's building the connection, and they go, I really like this person, and she seems to know what she's doing. I'd like to work with her. And so being online for me is almost like, again, forward-facing in front of the people at the poker table. It's about the community. It's like you're just having that relationship and building that knowledge of each other. You mentioned something just now about the fact that you can be online, which is sort of antithetical in my head, but help me understand this, to having people trust you. When we're online, we're not sitting like you and I are right now. We're on a screen, and I'm getting to know Stephanie because I'm watching videos that she produces and things that she says, and that somehow builds trust. How do you think that comes through? Like, what happens there? It's a great question. And I think, again, it just is being yourself and authentic. And I talk to the camera sometimes as if I'm talking to you across the table, if I'm on video. And sometimes I'm not even on video. It's just the way that I speak or the text that I put up, it's from my heart. And I think it just comes across that people know that I'm not just selling something. I'm not just trying to sell a house. I'm sharing my life with you, because a home is where your life is. And I think it just translates really well. Let's talk about time. So social media takes time to make them look good, to make them have continuity, all of that. If you were to guess on an average week, how much time are you spending doing social media work? I probably spend between 1 to 3 hours a day, whether I'm posting, editing, or engaging with others. Okay. To me, it's almost like a third space. Like if someone was going to network at a bar or a coffee shop, I look at it as the same type of a thing. So it's definitely time intensive, but if you know that is good for you and you're okay with it, then it's a good thing. And I give people permission to be honest with themselves. If you don't love social media, you're not going to show up the same way as if you do have a passion for it. For sure. Yeah, because it's not authentic to you. Yeah. Do you think that people are finding you online and choosing to work with you? Or do you think that you are having people that already know you follow you and continue to use you, or both? It's both, for sure. I would say I have a fair amount of people who have either found me on social media or have vetted me from social media. So if you're showing up in all the places, they go, oh yeah, that person's active, they're selling homes, they seem to know what they're talking about. And then I'm very particular about what I'm posting, where it's either local community things or it's about my day-to-day or a client review, and I have things pinned where it's going to give someone a quick way to see what I'm about. It sort of comes natural to you, sounds like. It's fun for you. Yeah. Like it's part of your work, but it's also something that you kind of geek out on and get into. It's true. I am working on boundaries, and I feel like with AI, it's going to be harder for people to use social media in the same way. There might be more of a distrust for some things. So if you weren't already showing up, it might be harder to start potentially. And there will be a need for more connection in person. So that's also something that I do, where if I'm engaging with someone and I feel like we are a good fit, hey, can I take you for a cup of coffee? Hey, can I meet you in person? So there is a lot of online, but it is also with the intent to take it offline and to build face-to-face connection too.
There's something prophetic about this. We're going to look back, maybe not that far into the future, and remember this interview and sort of hearken to it to say it's true that I think AI has already, in my opinion, started to have people distrust what they're seeing. Is this even this person talking? Because we can do voice dub overs and we can do all kinds of things AI related that is supposed to be helping with marketing, but I think is going to have a little backfire effect on truly feeling connected to whatever it is you're trying to sell and or the service you're providing, right?
Right.
So anyway, we'll mark this now and come back to it later and say, look at her. She was so smart. She said that early on. So if you're not doing social media and you're not doing community events and you're showing up authentically, how else are you building your business?
It is the community. It is trying to stay on top of systems and really checking back in with myself to make sure that I'm doing the things that I need to do. And also taking a lot of courses that feel like they're aligned with my goals. So again, I'm not trying to sell 100 homes a year, so I'm not going to necessarily take a course or engage with somebody that is trying to sell you that lifestyle. So it's really just trying to continue to check in with the people, stay connected, and connectivity to me is the main hub of everything.
Name of the game.
Yes.
For sure. We operate under the ninja philosophy here out of Fort Collins, and that's just to say staying in flow with your clients.
Yes.
And so I can think of, my dentist sends me a birthday card every year. I don't really want to stay in flow with my dentist, but it is interesting that any of those little touches that people do remind me who they are to me and how that I use their service. So even as a dentist sends you a birthday card, you're like, oh yeah, that's my dentist. Then it's accomplished its goal, right? It's to stay sort of front of mind. Are there any activities that you do sort of regularly, consistently that you think help keep your clients front of mind for you?
I am just constantly engaging. So again, back to the social media and who am I engaging with? Yes, it is people in my sphere, but also the people that I haven't really connected with yet. But I'm really big on staying in touch with their lives and what's going on. And I just had a meeting with a partner and we set out our calendar and business plan for 2026 for client events in person. And so I think just those touches will continuously allow us to stay top of mind and really connect, not just online.
Yeah, that's great. Kind of back to the basics in some ways of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I'm really big on giving back to my clients and the people who support me. So earlier this year, I finally got into Post Hotel after a year-long wait. And I was so enchanted with the experience that I said, everyone deserves rest and relaxation. And I immediately booked a week for 2026, or a weekend, excuse me, and it is a client giveaway.
Oh, very cool.
So I try to do as much giving back to not only the community, but to my clients as well.
And how do they participate in that?
It's signing up. If you've been a client or if you've referred me 2025 business, you are eligible to...
And you'll just take their name out of a hat.
Essentially, yes.
Perfect. How fun. I have not yet been to the Post Hotel, but would want to do that. So
it's lovely.
I'm going to have to put my name in the hat. I somehow support you. I like to ask people what's a strange or weird or funny experience you've had showing a house or with a client, because we have weird experiences all the time in our work.
This was probably almost 10 years ago. I was showing a house in West Seattle and the marketing remarks said day sleeper. So we made an appointment to accommodate the day sleeper. And when I opened the door, I could hear what sounded like a TV. And I said, oh, that's interesting. I thought they were going to leave. Immediately to the right, there was a bedroom. I saw a man sleeping and he wasn't wearing clothes.
Uh-oh.
And so I go, oh.
Let's
and then
go.
we walked right back out.
We always say, ow, my eye. Ow, my eye. I cannot erase that image from my eye.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's a bummer. Well, at least you saw it and your clients didn't, maybe? Or did they see it
No, I
too?
don't think he did. I don't remember. But
Okay. You shielded him from
I
that
said, yeah,
experience.
I think we should probably head back out. Oh, he's still
That's
here.
right.
He's
We're
asleep.
just going to close this door while you put on clothes. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, stuff just like that. Thanks. I knew everybody usually has those ones right on the top of their head.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so you just talked about 2026 and the plan that you already have in place. You seem already, and I haven't known you very long, but you're an organized person. Is that true?
I am, but I also definitely have struggles. I am undiagnosed ADHD,
Oh, there we
self-diagnosed.
go.
My son, not to put him on blast, he shares it with everyone. He is officially. So I go, okay, I need to help myself lean into my, I would say, gifts, because it's just a different way of your brain working. And so honoring myself and how I work best, but really trying to find the systems that work for me.
Yeah, and I would say ADHD aside, if we haven't heard one thing, Shannon, who is the owner of Audiotocracy, who's producing this show, has heard this repeatedly throughout the times that we've done this over the years, and that is the systems matter so much to real estate agents. So whether you are on the spectrum of ADHD or not having those systems has those ebbs and flows in real estate even bigger, right? I haven't sold anything for 6 months. Oh, I have 4 deals now. I know, ebb and flow. So give me an example of a system that you use that you know helps you produce.
I have hired a virtual assistant who is based out of the Pacific Northwest, and that's big to me to support local. And that person will take the tasks that are harder for me to do just because I'm really avoiding it because I don't love it. And that's the hard thing about being your own business owner is there's not going to be every single task that you love. And so trying to offload the things that I am not great at and giving away that control and trying not to control too much and trying to lean into that. I just had a meeting yesterday to kind of talk about the future. And so that's really important for me. And staying in flow, the check-ins, all of those little minutia details really help. So for me, it is leaning on other people to take over the things that I'm not necessarily doing as well.
I love it. That's great. And for listeners, I'm going to recap that just to say that's so important to learn as a business owner, regardless of whether you're in real estate or not. But to trudge through the things that we hate and have anybody that experiences us in that moment experience us in that way doesn't help our business. It doesn't help us be passionate about what we do. So being able to let go of that control and pass it off to someone who's going to do a way better job than us. And while that costs money and while that maybe make us nervous inside to hand something away, carefully hand it something away, hoping they're going to do it as well and find out that it's better on
Right.
the other side. That's a huge lesson. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, talk about 2026. What do you think is going to happen this next year?
I always tell folks, I don't speak in absolutes. I don't have a crystal ball because we just can't guarantee what's going on. And I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Normally, I would say quarter 1 is very, very strong. New year, new home. A lot of people come back into the fold and go, let's buy a house. And this January of 2025 was my busiest January ever. And I don't know if that's going to be the same path of what I'm seeing right now. I'm just not sure.
And what makes the uncertainty?
I would say a lot of the world events, the people who live in our area is a lot of the tech sector, and the tech sector has been uncertain. And a lot of the big corporations have had layoffs. And for me, I will tell people it's not a great time to buy a house. And so for those folks, maybe it's not because you're uncertain. And I don't want to just sell a house to sell a house. I want to make sure someone's going to be really thrilled with that choice, especially in the long term. And so I'm just not sure if that will bleed into 2026 as a continuously kind of gridlocked style market.
There's been a lot of news and talk from economists about the baby boomers, that it's going to be sort of the largest influx of folks downsizing and money being transferred from this generation to the next. And so do you see that impacting 2026?
Great question. I'm not an economist, so I don't know, but I feel like that transfer of wealth is not a guarantee because people are downsizing, but if they're going to a retirement community or an active 55 plus community, those are not inexpensive.
So
And
true.
I think there are people who are expecting to get a transfer of wealth that may not happen. And something that I know is occurring are maybe people who are downsizing and then allowing their children or relatives to then rent the house instead of selling the house. So I don't know. It's definitely possible, but I'm not sure it's as much of a thing as people think.
Okay.
For the long term.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be kind of a rude awakening in the future of people who expected something to come their way, and then they're going to find that it's not there.
Okay. Interesting. Obviously, we don't ever know. Crystal ball would be nice, though. I'm
It
not going
sure
to lie.
would.
It really help. Would it, though?
Yeah.
Actually, who knows? For our listeners, before we wrap up, is there anything else? Remember, we have folks that are thinking about it, that are brand new, that are sort of 5 years in and wondering why they made this choice, others that are loving the work. Is there anything else you would add to encourage them to say, keep it up, keep up the faith? Here's something else you can do. Anything you want to add?
I think it's just always checking in with yourself and going with your gut, and don't do things that you don't enjoy. It's okay to focus on maybe 2 pillars of business versus 5 pillars of business if the other 3 make you not want to go to work. Invest in what you are passionate about. Invest your time and your heart in what brings you joy, because then it will translate, and then people will see that and they'll want to come work with someone who's full of joy.
Nice. Ooh, I love that last statement. Thank you. It was so fun to have you on the show. I really appreciate your time and coming all the way over here, and can't wait to see what you put online and watch you and continue to see your success.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you so much for listening into Pocket Hours. I hope this has been interesting, fun, made you laugh, made you think, spurred you on to do and implement some new things in your business. I appreciate your time and hope this has been a good use of it, period. Now, go be the agent you would hire.